I just want to take 2 minutes and keep us connected with our portion. Just do the overview like we usually do so that we can speak intelligently about the portion to anybody who should happen to ask. This morning's portion begins in Genesis chapter 47 and continues on through the end of the book of Genesis. It's called Vayechi because it's the first significant word in our portion. It says, Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim, and Jacob lived in the land of Egypt. This is the last portion of Joseph's story. Jacob is still alive at the beginning. He makes Joseph swear to bury him after he passes away. He then lays his hand on Manasseh and Ephraim, but switches them. Remember this part of the story? Interesting part of the story. He blesses them, but backwards, and then he blesses his own children. One blessing, or some of them don't seem like very much of a blessing when you read them, but one blessing for each of his children. He says that Simeon and Levi will be scattered. Judah will rule, and then Jacob dies. He's buried in Machpelah. Where's Machpelah? Machpelah. Who else is buried in Machpelah? Abraham and Sarah and all his fathers, all of his ancestors so far have been buried there in Machpelah, going back to Abraham. Once Jacob dies, we see this really interesting dynamic with the brothers who start to freak out a little bit. In their thinking, the only thing that has kept Joseph from lashing out at them and taking revenge has been their father. And so now that Jacob is dead, the brothers, are worried, but Joseph comforts them. He says, look, whatever you intended, but God meant it for good. That's sort of the summary of the entire story of Joseph. Whatever happens here, God has a plan and a purpose, and it's a perfect plan and purpose, and it's for our good, ultimately. And so Joseph dies, but not before making the brothers promise to take him up out of Egypt when they leave, not if they leave, but when they leave, and bury him off. Now, how many of you have ever been to a restaurant? And there was more to that question. There was more to that question. Just wait for it. Wait. How many of you have ever been to a restaurant and you've seen a little placard on the table that said reserved? Nobody at the table. You ever seen that? And there's nobody standing near the table either. I don't get that. Because I'll be there for like an hour and nobody sits at the table. Nobody's at the table. Would you think differently about it if there was a guard, say, a muscular, big, burly guard standing by that table that says reserved, like this? Like a bouncer, like a restaurant table bouncer. Would you think that there's more to it than just somebody tossing a little reserve card on it? That's how I want you to think about your place in heaven. In 1 Peter, he says that there is a place reserved for you in heaven. If you look at the Greek, the underlying word there is guarded. That's an active thing. That's not just somebody coming by and tossing a little placard that says reserved on it, or hanging, if you will, like a hotel, like one of those do not disturb things on the handle. There is a big burly somebody standing at that door, and if it's not you coming for that space, they're not getting in. Your place is reserved by your faith in Messiah. Now, all of Peter's letter is really all about encouraging the new believers who have been sort of scattered, that no matter what they're going through, they have that assurance. They have that peace that there is that space being guarded for them. Not just any space, their space. It's their space, and it's saved for them. The complete Jewish Bible uses that word saved I don't know how I feel about that, and then in the next verse, they talk about salvation. I just don't want to get confused. It's reserved for you. It's being guarded. It's being kept. It's the same root, same word, the equivalent word in Greek as the word shamar. Shamar in Hebrew means to observe, to keep, to guard, to protect. Actively. That it's like the shomrim, the watchmen on the walls. They're actively watching. They're actively guarding. That's the peace that we can have, knowing that there is that space for us. Now, in our Torah portion, we see a transformation in the brothers. The brothers start this portion out in fear. Look, they're going through a lot. We know they're going through a lot. So they're fearful. And then they have this joy as their brother is revealed, as God's plan and purpose for them is revealed. God meant it for good. So they rejoice, and in their rejoicing they find peace. Now, one might think that David should be really, really at peace with all that he had done in life. He didn't get to do what he really wanted to do, which was what? Build the temple. He didn't get to do that. No, that was going to be for his son. But he should have all this peace, right? At the end of his life, we don't see that. He's still going through it in his mind. He's going through all the things that happened, and he's now laying his burdens on his son. So now this didn't happen, but now you've got to do this. And I think of the contrast between how it describes Abraham dying, satisfied and full of years, and now how David dies, passing this burden along to his children. So I want you to understand that if you're not actually feeling that peace right now, you're among good company. David didn't quite feel it either, but you have every reason to get it. Because of the fact that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that because of your faith in Yeshua, you are saved for all eternity with a space being guarded for you right now. So nothing here should faze us. If it does, again, you're in good company, but be at peace. Have that shalom, knowing that your salvation is secure. That's this morning's Torah portion.